My precious child, before we begin this sacred journey together, I want you to know that you are here by divine appointment. Every word you are about to hear has been written with infinite love and divine intention, woven together like golden threads in the tapestry of your awakening. Do not let the distractions of this world pull you away from this moment, for what I am about to speak into your spirit will transform the very essence of how you perceive the spiritual battles around you and equip you with divine discernment for the warfare you face daily. I invite you to subscribe to this channel and return daily, for each day I have new mercies, new revelations, and new depths of my love to pour into your hungry soul. Let your heart be still, beloved one, and prepare to receive what your spirit has been longing to hear. The danger you face is real, but my love for you is greater. The enemy's schemes are active, but my protection is absolute. You are in danger, precious child, but you are not defenseless. Open your spiritual eyes and see what I am about to reveal. My beloved child, I come to you today not as a distant deity delivering judgment, but as your loving Father extending a life-saving warning. There is danger surrounding your life that your natural eyes cannot see, threats approaching your destiny that your human perception cannot detect, and snares being set for your soul that your earthly wisdom cannot discern. But I love you too much to let you walk blindly into the enemy's trap, and I care for you too deeply to allow you to remain unaware of the spiritual warfare raging around you. The voice of complacency whispers that everything is fine, that you are safe, that danger is something that happens to other people but not to you. It lulls you into a false sense of security, convincing you that the enemy is distant, that spiritual warfare is exaggerated, that you can navigate life without supernatural awareness or divine protection. But precious one, this voice is not your friend. It is the enemy's first weapon, designed to keep you spiritually asleep while he positions himself for attack. I see the danger that lurks in the shadows of your daily routine, beloved child. While you go about your normal activities, while you focus on your earthly responsibilities, while you live as though the physical realm is all that matters, spiritual forces of darkness are orchestrating events, manipulating circumstances, and positioning themselves to steal, kill, and destroy everything I have planned for your life. The danger is not always dramatic or obvious, precious one. It rarely announces itself with fanfare or reveals itself through clear signs. More often, it comes disguised as normal life, as reasonable choices, as harmless entertainment, as innocent relationships, as beneficial opportunities. The enemy is far too cunning to attack you with obvious evil. He knows you would recognize and resist that. Instead, he comes as an angel of light, offering you things that seem good, but lead to destruction. I see the danger in the small compromises you have been making, beloved child. Each one seems insignificant by itself, but together they are creating cracks in your spiritual armor, weakening your defenses, and providing entry points for the enemy's influence. The white lies you tell to avoid confrontation, the entertainment you consume that conflicts with my values, the relationships you maintain that pull you away from my heart. These are not harmless choices. They are dangerous agreements with the kingdom of darkness. The voice of rationalization argues that these small things don't matter, that God is more concerned with big sins than little compromises, that mercy covers minor infractions. But I am warning you, precious child, the enemy rarely defeats my children through one massive fall. He destroys them through 1,000 small steps, away from my presence, 1,000 tiny compromises of their conscience, 1,000 minor agreements with his lies. I see the danger in the voices you have been listening to, beloved one. Not every voice that speaks into your life comes from me, and not every advice you receive leads to life. There are voices of culture, voices of popular opinion, voices of well-meaning but misguided friends, voices of your own fallen nature, all competing for your attention and allegiance. Some of these voices seem wise, some seem loving, some seem practical, but they are leading you away from my will and into the enemy's snare. The most dangerous voices are those that sound almost right, that contain enough truth to seem credible but enough error to be destructive. These voices will affirm your worth while undermining your need for me, encourage your dreams while discouraging your dependence on my guidance, validate your feelings while invalidating my word. They are spiritual poison mixed with natural honey, designed to taste sweet while slowly destroying your spiritual health. I see the danger in the gradual drift of your heart away from intimacy with me, precious child. It didn't happen overnight, and you may not have even noticed it happening. But prayer has become less frequent, worship has become less passionate, time in my word has become less regular, and sensitivity to my voice has become less acute. This spiritual drifting is not harmless. It is dangerous because it leaves you vulnerable to deception, susceptible to temptation, and unprepared for the battles ahead. The enemy's strategy is not to pull you away from me suddenly. He knows that would alarm you and cause you to run back to me immediately. Instead, he gradually, almost imperceptibly, creates distance between your heart and mine. He introduces distractions that seem important, responsibilities that seem urgent, pleasures that seem innocent, and concerns that seem valid. Before you realize it, you find yourself spiritually distant from the source of your strength and protection. But I am not warning you to frighten you, beloved child. I am warning you to awaken you. I am not revealing these dangers to create anxiety, but to inspire action. I am not pointing out these threats to overwhelm you, but to mobilize you. You are in danger, but you are not defeated. You face an enemy, but you are not alone. You walk through a spiritual battlefield, but you are not unarmed. The same love that compels me to warn you of danger also compels me to provide you with protection. The same heart that alerts you to the enemy's schemes also offers you victory over those schemes. The same voice that reveals the threats against you also declares the triumph available to you. I have given you authority over all the power of the enemy, precious one. I have equipped you with spiritual armor that can withstand every attack. I have provided you with weapons that are mighty through me for the pulling down of strongholds. I have assigned angels to guard you, my spirit to guide you, and my word to protect you. You are in danger, but you are not defenseless. The key to your protection is recognition, beloved child. You must see the danger to defeat it, acknowledge the threat to overcome it, identify the enemy to resist him. Spiritual blindness is the enemy's greatest weapon, and spiritual sight is your greatest defense. Open your spiritual eyes, precious one. Awaken to the reality of the unseen realm. Recognize the spiritual forces at work in your life. Acknowledge the battles being fought over your destiny. See the danger that surrounds you, but also see the God who protects you, the angels who guard you, and the victory that awaits you. You are in danger, my beloved child, but you are not in despair. The enemy has schemes, but I have strategies. He has plans, but I have purposes. He desires your destruction, but I declare your victory. Wake up, precious one. See the danger, but more importantly, see your deliverer. My precious child, I must open your spiritual eyes to see the invisible battlefield that surrounds your life, every moment of every day. While you move through your physical world, focused on tangible concerns and visible challenges, there is an entire dimension of reality operating around you that your natural senses cannot perceive. This is the realm where your true battles are fought, where your destiny is contested, and where the outcome of your life is being determined. The voice of naturalism insists that only what you can see, touch, and measure is real, that spiritual warfare is primitive superstition, that battles are only fought with physical weapons in physical locations between physical opponents. But beloved one, this voice is keeping you dangerously unaware of the most important reality of your existence, the spiritual realm where the real war for your soul, your purpose, and your future is being waged. Scripture declares that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. This is not metaphorical language, precious child. This is literal reality. While you navigate your daily routine, spiritual forces of darkness are actively working to derail your destiny, corrupt your character, and destroy your relationship with me. The battlefield is not some distant location that you might visit occasionally during times of obvious crisis. The battlefield is wherever you are, whenever you are there. It is in your home when you wake up in the morning and the enemy whispers discouragement before your feet hit the floor. It is in your car when you drive to work and negative thoughts flood your mind. It is in your workplace when you face decisions that could compromise your integrity. It is in your relationships when conflicts arise that threaten to break bonds of love. I see the enemy's strategies being deployed against your life, beloved child. He has studied your weaknesses, analyzed your patterns, and identified your vulnerabilities. He knows which temptations you find hardest to resist, which fears paralyze you most effectively, which lies you are most likely to believe. He has crafted specific attacks designed to exploit your areas of spiritual immaturity and emotional instability. The voice of pride whispers that you are strong enough to handle any attack, wise enough to see through any deception, spiritual enough to resist any temptation. But precious one, this confidence in your own strength is exactly what the enemy wants. The moment you believe you can fight spiritual battles with natural weapons, trust human wisdom over divine revelation, or rely on personal strength instead of supernatural power, you have already lost the battle. Your enemy is not human, beloved child. He is a fallen angel who has had thousands of years to perfect his strategies of deception and destruction. He is more intelligent than the wisest human, more cunning than the most clever person, more experienced than the most seasoned warrior. If you attempt to fight him in your own strength, with your own wisdom, using your own resources, you will be defeated every time. But here is what the enemy doesn't want you to know, precious one. You are not fighting alone. The battlefield around your life is occupied not only by forces of darkness, but also by armies of light. For every demon assigned to attack you, there are angels assigned to protect you. For every scheme of the enemy against your life, there are strategies of heaven for your victory. For every weapon formed against you, there is divine protection that will cause it to fail. I see the angels I have assigned to your life, beloved child. They are warriors of light, mighty in power, swift in response, and absolutely loyal to my will for your protection. They are stationed around your home, your workplace, your family, and your future. They are fighting battles on your behalf that you don't even know are happening, deflecting attacks you never see coming, and securing victories you never realize were won. The enemy wants you to remain ignorant of this angelic assistance because your awareness of it increases its effectiveness. When you recognize the spiritual support surrounding your life, when you acknowledge the heavenly warriors fighting for you, when you cooperate with the divine protection available to you, the power of that protection is multiplied exponentially. There are invisible battles being fought over your thoughts, precious child. The enemy sends spirits of confusion to cloud your judgment, spirits of fear to paralyze your faith, spirits of discouragement to weaken your resolve. But I send the Spirit of truth to guide you into all truth, the Spirit of power to strengthen you in every weakness, and the Spirit of love to perfect what fear would destroy. The battlefield extends to your relationships as well, beloved one. The enemy seeks to destroy the connections that strengthen you, corrupt the influences that guide you, and isolate you from the community that supports you. He sends spirits of division to create conflict, spirits of offense to generate bitterness, and spirits of suspicion to breed mistrust. But I work to heal what the enemy seeks to break, restore what he attempts to destroy, and strengthen what he tries to weaken. Your finances are a battlefield too, precious child. The enemy seeks to create lack where I want to provide abundance, poverty where I desire prosperity, and anxiety where I offer peace. He attacks your ability to prosper not just to cause financial hardship, but to limit your capacity to advance my kingdom, bless others, and fulfill your calling. Even your health is contested on this invisible battlefield, beloved one. The enemy sends spirits of infirmity to attack your body, spirits of depression to assault your emotions, and spirits of anxiety to disturb your peace. But I am the God who heals all your diseases, who restores your strength, and who gives you peace that passes understanding. The most critical battlefield, precious child, is your mind. This is where the war for your destiny is won or lost. The enemy knows that if he can control your thoughts, he can control your life. If he can influence your beliefs, he can determine your choices. If he can shape your perspective, he can direct your path. But I have given you weapons to win this battle, beloved one. My word is a sword that cuts through deception. My spirit is a guide that leads you into truth. Prayer is a weapon that moves heaven and earth. Worship is a force that dispels darkness. Faith is a shield that stops every attack. You are not a victim on this battlefield, precious child. You are a victor. You are not defenseless against these attacks. You are equipped with divine weapons. You are not alone in these battles. You are surrounded by heavenly armies. The battlefield is real. The enemy is active, but your victory is assured. Open your spiritual eyes and see the invisible battlefield around your life. Recognize the battles being fought. Acknowledge the warriors fighting for you. Take up your spiritual weapons and fight from the position of victory I have given you. My beloved child, one of the greatest dangers you face is not the enemy's attacks themselves, but your inability to see them coming. Spiritual blindness has clouded your perception, dimmed your discernment, and left you vulnerable to deceptions and dangers that should be easily recognizable to a child of the light. But I am your healing God, and today I want to restore your spiritual sight, clear your spiritual vision, and open your spiritual eyes to see the reality of the invisible realm that surrounds you. The voice of skepticism argues that spiritual sight is unnecessary, that natural perception is sufficient, that focusing on invisible realities is a distraction from practical living. But precious one, spiritual blindness is not a minor inconvenience, it is a life-threatening condition. A person who cannot see physical obstacles will inevitably stumble and fall. Similarly, a believer who cannot perceive spiritual realities will inevitably walk into traps, fall for deceptions, and miss divine opportunities. Your spiritual blindness did not happen overnight, beloved child. It was a gradual process, a slow dimming of spiritual perception that occurred so subtly you may not have even noticed it happening. Perhaps it began with neglecting regular time in my presence, allowing the urgency of daily life to crowd out the intimacy that keeps your spiritual senses sharp. Maybe it developed through compromises that seemed small, but gradually desensitized your conscience to the difference between light and darkness. The enemy has many strategies for creating spiritual blindness. Precious one, he uses the cares of this world to distract your attention from eternal realities. He employs the deceitfulness of riches to make material things seem more important than spiritual things. He utilizes the lust of the flesh to focus your desires on temporary pleasures rather than eternal treasures. Each of these strategies is designed to turn your spiritual eyes away from the things that matter most. I see how the constant noise of modern life has contributed to your spiritual blindness, beloved child. The endless stream of information, entertainment, and distraction has created a fog that obscures spiritual realities. Your mind has become so accustomed to processing rapid-fire input from external sources that you have lost the ability to perceive the gentle whispers of my spirit, the subtle promptings of my heart, and the quiet warnings of divine wisdom. The healing of your spiritual blindness begins with recognition that you need healing, precious one. Many of my children suffer from spiritual blindness but are unaware of their condition. They mistake their inability to perceive spiritual realities for maturity, their lack of sensitivity to my voice for stability, their indifference to spiritual warfare for peace. But what they call maturity is actually spiritual dullness. What they call stability is actually spiritual stagnation. and what they call peace is actually spiritual blindness. I want to restore your ability to discern my voice above all other voices, beloved child. In a world filled with competing messages, conflicting opinions, and contradictory counsel, you need supernatural ability to recognize the sound of your shepherd's voice. This discernment is not just helpful, it is essential for spiritual survival. The enemy's deceptions are becoming more sophisticated, his counterfeits more convincing, and his lies more subtly woven with truth. The healing of your spiritual sight will restore your ability to recognize the enemy's presence and activity. Precious one, you will begin to sense when he is near, perceive when he is working, and detect when he is setting traps. This awareness is not meant to make you fearful, but to make you vigilant, not to create anxiety, but to inspire authority, not to cause worry, but to produce warfare. As I heal your spiritual blindness, you will begin to see the angelic activity around your life, beloved child. You will become aware of the heavenly warriors assigned to your protection, the divine messengers bringing you guidance, and the supernatural assistance available for every challenge you face. This awareness will dramatically increase your faith, courage, and confidence in my ability to handle every situation you encounter. Your restored spiritual sight will also enable you to see the true nature of the people in your life. Precious one, you will be able to discern the motivations behind their words, the spirits influencing their actions, and the fruit their presence produces in your life. This discernment will help you know who to trust, who to distance yourself from, and who to pray for without being hurt by their dysfunction. The voice of false tolerance argues that judging or discerning anything about others is unloving, that acceptance means agreeing with everything, that love requires blindness to people's flaws and faults. But beloved child, spiritual discernment is not harsh judgment. It is divine wisdom. It is not condemnation. It is protection. It is not unloving. It is essential for loving wisely. I am healing your ability to see divine opportunities that are invisible to natural perception. Beloved child, there are doors I want to open for you that you cannot see with natural eyes, connections I want to make for you that seem impossible in the natural realm, and resources I want to provide for you that have no apparent source. Your restored spiritual sight will enable you to recognize these supernatural opportunities and respond to them with faith and obedience. The healing of your spiritual blindness will also restore your ability to see the eternal significance of temporary situations. Precious one, you will begin to understand how present circumstances are preparing you for future assignments, how current challenges are developing character for coming responsibilities, and how today's tests are building strength for tomorrow's victories. As your spiritual sight is restored, you will see more clearly the spiritual forces at work in your family line. Beloved child, you will recognize generational patterns that need to be broken, family strongholds that need to be demolished, and ancestral sins that need to be renounced. This sight will empower you to be not just a beneficiary of family blessing, but a breaker of family curses. Your healed spiritual vision will enable you to see the spiritual atmosphere of different places and environments. Precious one, you will sense when you enter places filled with peace, and when you encounter locations saturated with darkness. You will know when to linger in atmospheres that strengthen your spirit, and when to leave quickly from environments that drain your spiritual energy. The process of healing your spiritual blindness requires your cooperation, beloved child. You must choose to slow down enough to perceive spiritual realities, quiet your mind enough to hear my whispers, and discipline your attention enough to focus on eternal things. You must deliberately tune out the noise that obscures spiritual perception and tune in to the frequency of heaven. I am beginning this healing work in you right now, precious one. Even as you receive these words, I am clearing the fog from your spiritual eyes, removing the scales from your spiritual perception, and restoring the clarity of your spiritual vision. You will begin to see things you have never seen before, understand things you have never understood before, and perceive things you have never perceived before. The danger you face is real, beloved child, but now you will see it clearly. The enemy's schemes are active, but now you will recognize them quickly. The battles are raging, but now you will fight them wisely. Your spiritual sight is being restored, your discernment is being sharpened, and your awareness is being awakened. Open your newly healed spiritual eyes, precious one, and see the invisible realm that surrounds you. The healing has begun, the sight is returning, and the clarity is coming. My precious child, there are patterns in your life that appear normal, seem harmless, and feel comfortable, but they are actually deceptive cycles designed by the enemy to keep you trapped in limitations, bound by restrictions, and prevented from walking in the fullness of your divine destiny. These patterns are so familiar to you that you mistake them for your natural personality, your family traits, or simply the way things are. But I am here to reveal the truth. These are not just quirks or characteristics. They are spiritual prisons disguised as personal preferences. The voice of familiarity whispers that these patterns are simply part of who you are, that change is unnecessary, that accepting these limitations is maturity. It argues that everyone has their weaknesses, that no one is perfect, and that you should embrace your flaws rather than fight them. But beloved one, this voice is not encouraging self-acceptance. It is enabling spiritual bondage. It is not promoting peace. It is preventing breakthrough. I see the pattern of negative thinking that has become so automatic in your mind that you don't even recognize it anymore, precious child. Every situation is first filtered through pessimism. Every opportunity is immediately met with reasons why it won't work. Every possibility is quickly countered with problems and obstacles. This is not realistic thinking. This is a deceptive pattern that has been programmed into your mental processes to limit your faith, restrict your vision, and prevent you from believing for the miraculous. This pattern didn't develop overnight, beloved one. It was carefully cultivated through years of disappointment, seasons of difficulty, and experiences of pain. Each time you were hurt, each time you were let down, each time things didn't work out as expected, the enemy used those experiences to build walls of protection around your heart. But what began as protection has become a prison, and what started as wisdom has become a web of deception. The voice of self-protection argues that negative thinking keeps you safe from disappointment, that low expectations prevent heartbreak, that pessimism protects you from being hurt again. But I am revealing to you that this pattern is not protecting you. It is limiting you. It is not keeping you safe. It is keeping you small. It is not preventing pain. It is preventing purpose. I see the pattern of people-pleasing that has woven itself so deeply into your interactions that you can no longer distinguish between genuine love and manipulative compliance. Precious child, you have learned to read the emotional temperature of every room and adjust your behavior accordingly, to anticipate what others want from you and provide it before they even ask, to suppress your own needs and desires in favor of keeping peace and avoiding conflict. This pattern masquerades as love, but it is actually a form of spiritual bondage, beloved one. It appears to be selflessness, but it is actually driven by fear, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of disapproval. The enemy has convinced you that your worth is determined by how well you please others, that your value is measured by how much others approve of you, that your security depends on keeping everyone happy with your performance. The deceptive pattern of comparison has become so embedded in your thinking that you automatically measure your life against others without even realizing you're doing it, precious child. Your joy is constantly undermined by awareness of what others have that you lack. Your peace is continually disturbed by knowledge of others' successes that highlight your failures, and your contentment is regularly stolen by observation of others' blessings that emphasize your needs. This pattern is not harmless human nature. It is a strategic deception designed to keep you perpetually dissatisfied, constantly insecure, and chronically unhappy. The enemy knows that as long as you are focused on what others have, you will never be grateful for what you have. As long as you are comparing your life to others' lives, you will never be content with the unique path I have designed specifically for you. I see the pattern of procrastination that has become your default response to anything that requires faith, courage, or stepping outside your comfort zone. Beloved one, important decisions are delayed, necessary actions are postponed, and divine opportunities are missed because you have developed a habit of waiting for perfect conditions, ideal circumstances, or overwhelming confirmation before you move forward. This pattern appears to be caution, but it is actually fear disguised as wisdom. It seems to be prudence, but it is actually paralysis masquerading as planning. The enemy has convinced you that waiting is always wise, that delay is always safe, and that inaction is always better than imperfect action. But I am revealing to you that this pattern has caused you to miss more opportunities than mistakes ever could. The deceptive pattern of self-reliance has trained you to exhaust every human resource, explore every natural solution, and attempt every earthly remedy before you turn to me for help, precious child. Prayer has become your last resort rather than your first response. Seeking my guidance has become an emergency measure rather than a daily habit, and depending on my strength has become a crisis reaction rather than a constant reality. This pattern makes you feel strong and independent, but it actually makes you weak and vulnerable. It appears to be maturity, but it is actually pride. It seems to be responsibility, but it is actually rebellion against my desire to be intimately involved in every aspect of your life. Breaking free from these deceptive patterns requires more than human willpower or positive thinking, beloved child. These patterns have spiritual roots that require spiritual solutions. They are not just bad habits. They are strongholds that have been built in your mind through years of agreement with lies, acceptance of limitations, and submission to fear. I am giving you authority to break these patterns, precious one. You have the power to renew your mind, to take every thought captive, to cast down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of me. You have access to my strength to overcome every limitation, my wisdom to see through every deception, and my love to heal every wound that created these patterns in the first place. The process of breaking free begins with recognition, beloved child. You must see the patterns clearly, acknowledge their deceptive nature, and refuse to accept them as permanent fixtures in your life. You must stop making excuses for these limitations and start making war against them. You must cease protecting these patterns and start demolishing them. As you break free from these deceptive patterns, you will discover the person I created you to be, precious one. You will find strength you didn't know you possessed, courage you didn't know you carried, and potential you didn't know existed within you. The breaking of these patterns is not just about stopping negative behaviors. It is about releasing divine possibilities that have been trapped beneath layers of deception. You are not destined to remain bound by these patterns, beloved child. You are called to break free, to walk in liberty, and to demonstrate the transforming power of my love to a world trapped in similar deceptions. The patterns are breaking, the cycles are ending, and the freedom is beginning. Step out of the deceptive patterns that have limited you, precious one. Walk into the liberating truth that will transform you. The prison doors are open, the chains are broken, and freedom is calling your name. My beloved child, there is something magnificent within you that the enemy fears more than any weapon, dreads more than any army, and works more desperately to destroy than any other target: your divine calling. From the moment I breathed this calling into your spirit, before you were even born, the forces of darkness have been scheming to prevent its manifestation, plotting to pervert its purpose, and strategizing to destroy its power. You are in danger, precious one, because your calling is under attack in ways you cannot see, and through methods you would never suspect. The voice of insignificance whispers that you have nothing special to offer, that your dreams are too big for someone like you, that your sense of calling is just spiritual pride or wishful thinking. But, beloved child, this voice is not protecting you from disappointment. It is preventing you from destiny. It is not keeping you humble. It is keeping you hidden. It is not saving you from failure. It is stealing your future. Your calling is not a vague feeling or a hopeful aspiration, precious one. It is a divine assignment that was carved into your spiritual DNA before the foundation of the world. It is a heavenly mandate that was sealed in your spirit before you drew your first breath. It is a kingdom purpose that was established in eternity and is now ready to be manifested in time. The enemy knows this, and his attacks against your calling are not random or casual. They are strategic and systematic. I see how the enemy has been attacking your calling through discouragement, beloved child. Every time you have stepped forward in faith, every time you have attempted to move toward your purpose, every time you have dared to believe that God might use you significantly, the enemy has sent waves of discouragement to convince you to retreat. He has used disappointments to make you doubt your calling, delays to make you question your timing, and difficulties to make you abandon your dreams. The attack of discouragement is particularly dangerous because it comes through real circumstances, genuine challenges, and actual setbacks. The enemy doesn't have to manufacture fake problems to discourage you. He simply amplifies the impact of real problems to make them seem insurmountable. He takes temporary setbacks and makes them feel permanent, takes minor obstacles and makes them appear major, takes ordinary challenges and makes them seem impossible. The enemy has also been attacking your calling through distraction, precious child. He has filled your life with so many urgent demands, immediate needs, and pressing responsibilities that you have no time or energy left to pursue your divine purpose. He has made busyness feel like productivity, activity feel like progress, and motion feel like meaning. But being busy is not the same as being fruitful, and being active is not the same as being effective. These distractions are not necessarily bad things, beloved one. They are often good things, important things, even necessary things. The enemy's most effective distractions are responsibilities that make you feel guilty for neglecting them, and opportunities that seem too good to pass up. He has learned that he cannot pull you away from your calling with obviously evil temptations, so he uses apparently good alternatives that consume your time and dissipate your focus. I see how the enemy has been attacking your calling through isolation, precious child. He has worked to separate you from other believers who would encourage your faith, from mentors who would guide your development, from peers who would support your vision, and from communities that would celebrate your progress. He knows that calling is best fulfilled in community, that purpose is most powerfully expressed in relationship, and that divine assignments are most effectively accomplished in partnership. The isolation may have come through circumstances that seemed beyond your control, moves to new locations, changes in employment, shifts in family dynamics, or conflicts in relationships. But behind these natural causes, there has been a spiritual strategy to cut you off from the connections that would strengthen your calling and surround you with influences that would weaken it. The enemy has also been attacking your calling through comparison, beloved one. He has constantly placed before your eyes examples of others who seem more gifted, more successful, more anointed, more qualified than you. He has made you focus on what you lack rather than what you possess, on what you can't do rather than what you can do, on why you're not ready rather than how you can prepare. This comparison trap is particularly insidious because it appears to be humility, but it is actually a form of pride. The pride that says you know better than God who should be called and who should not be called. When you disqualify yourself because you don't measure up to others, you are essentially arguing with my choice, questioning my judgment, and rejecting my assessment of your potential. The voice of perfectionism has been one of the enemy's most effective weapons against your calling, precious child. It has convinced you that you must be completely qualified before you can begin, totally prepared before you can step forward, and absolutely certain before you can take action. But perfectionism is not a pursuit of excellence. It is a strategy of paralysis. It is not a standard of quality. It is a tool of prevention. I have never called perfect people to perfect assignments under perfect conditions, beloved one. I have always called imperfect people to impossible assignments under impossible conditions, and then I have made them perfect through the process of walking out their calling. Your calling is not dependent on your perfection. It is dependent on my power working through your availability. The enemy has also been attacking your calling by perverting your understanding of what it means to be called, precious child. He has made calling seem like a burden to bear rather than a blessing to enjoy, like a sacrifice to endure rather than a joy to experience, like a duty to fulfill rather than a delight to embrace. But calling is not punishment. It is privilege. It is not obligation. It is opportunity. It is not sacrifice. It is satisfaction. I see how the enemy has been attacking your calling through the wounds of past failures, beloved one. Every time you have attempted something significant and it didn't work out as planned, every time you have stepped out in faith and experienced disappointment, every time you have believed for breakthrough and encountered setback, the enemy has used these experiences to convince you that you are not called, not chosen, not capable of being used by God. But failure is not disqualification, precious child. Setbacks are not evidence of God's disapproval. Disappointments are not proof that you misheard my voice. They are simply part of the process of preparation, development, and refinement that every calling requires. The enemy wants you to interpret these experiences as rejection, but I want you to understand them as redirection, not as punishment, but as preparation. Your calling is not fragile, beloved child. It cannot be destroyed by the enemy's attacks, diminished by his discouragements, or derailed by his distractions. It is anchored in my eternal purposes, secured by my unchanging love, and guaranteed by my faithful character. The enemy can attack your calling, but he cannot annul it. He can assault your purpose, but he cannot abolish it. He can oppose your destiny, but he cannot obliterate it. But you must recognize that your calling is under attack so you can defend it properly, precious one. You must see the enemy's strategies so you can resist them effectively. You must understand his methods so you can overcome them completely. Rise up, beloved child, and defend your calling. Recognize the attack, resist the enemy, and pursue your purpose with renewed determination. Your calling is worth fighting for. Your purpose is worth pursuing, and your destiny is worth defending. The attack is real, but so is your victory. The enemy is active, but so is your God. Your calling is under attack, but it will not be defeated. Stand firm, fight back, and watch your divine purpose emerge victorious. My beloved child, now that your spiritual eyes are opening to the reality of the unseen dangers around you, I must equip you with specific instructions that will ensure your protection, empower your resistance, and guarantee your victory in every spiritual battle you face. These are not suggestions from a caring friend. These are direct commands from your Heavenly Father, who has already won the war and is now teaching you how to walk in that victory daily. The voice of self-reliance will tempt you to create your own defense strategies, to rely on human wisdom for spiritual battles, to trust in natural strength for supernatural warfare. But precious one, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal but mighty through God, for the pulling down of strongholds. You cannot fight spiritual battles with natural weapons, overcome supernatural enemies with human strategies, or defend against invisible attacks with visible armor. First instruction, beloved child. Guard your thought life with vigilant attention. Your mind is the primary battlefield where the enemy launches his most devastating attacks. Every thought that enters your consciousness is either building your faith or destroying it, either strengthening your confidence in me or weakening your trust in my goodness. You have been given the power to take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ, but this power must be actively exercised. The enemy will bombard your mind with thoughts of fear, doubt, condemnation, discouragement, and despair. He will try to convince you that these thoughts are your own, that they represent your true feelings, that you must accept them as reality. But I am teaching you to interrogate every thought. Does this thought align with my word? Does it build my kingdom in your heart? Does it produce the fruit of my spirit in your life? When you identify thoughts that come from the enemy, do not argue with them, analyze them, or try to understand them. Simply reject them with the authority I have given you, and replace them immediately with thoughts that align with my truth. Speak my word over your mind, declare my promises over your situation, and fill your consciousness with things that are true, noble, just, pure, lovely, and of good report. Second instruction, precious child. Maintain your connection to me through consistent prayer and worship. The enemy's goal is to isolate you from the source of your strength, to create distance between your heart and mine, to interrupt the flow of my power into your life. He knows that a believer who maintains intimate communion with me is virtually invincible, so he works tirelessly to disrupt that connection. Prayer is not just communication with me. It is your lifeline to heaven's resources. Worship is not just singing songs. It is warfare that dispels darkness and releases my presence. Time in my word is not just reading. It is receiving revelation that transforms your perspective and empowers your spirit. These spiritual disciplines are not optional for those who face spiritual warfare. They are essential. The voice of busyness will argue that you don't have time for extended prayer, that brief moments with me are sufficient, that your active service is more important than intimate communion. But beloved one, you cannot afford not to spend time with me. Every moment you invest in my presence multiplies your effectiveness in every other area of your life. Third instruction, beloved child. Surround yourself with other believers who will strengthen your faith, encourage your calling, and support your spiritual growth. The enemy works to isolate you because he knows there is power in unity, strength in fellowship, and protection in community. He wants you to believe that you can handle spiritual warfare alone, that you don't need others, that independence is spiritual maturity. But I have designed you for community, precious one. I have created you to both give and receive encouragement, to both provide and obtain support, to both offer and accept accountability. The believers I place in your life are not accidental relationships. They are strategic assignments, divine connections designed to strengthen your spiritual defenses and multiply your spiritual effectiveness. Be careful, however, about the voices you allow to speak into your life during seasons of spiritual warfare. Not every person who claims to be a believer has the spiritual maturity to provide godly counsel. Some will offer human wisdom that contradicts divine truth. Others will speak from their own wounds and fears rather than from my heart. And still others will project their own limitations onto your situation. Fourth instruction, precious child. Use the spiritual armor I have provided for you daily. This armor is not a one-time gift, but a daily provision that must be deliberately put on each morning. The belt of truth must be fastened around your waist, securing all other pieces of armor with honesty and integrity. The breastplate of righteousness must protect your heart with the knowledge of your right standing with me through Christ. Your feet must be fitted with the preparation of the gospel of peace, ready to stand firm on the solid ground of my promises, and quick to carry good news to others. The shield of faith must be lifted high to extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. The helmet of salvation must protect your mind with the security of your eternal position in me. The sword of the Spirit, which is my word, must be sharp and ready for both offensive and defensive action. This armor is not just symbolic, beloved one. It represents real spiritual protection that becomes effective when you consciously appropriate it by faith. Each morning, deliberately put on each piece of armor, asking me to make it real and effective in your life that day. Fifth instruction, precious child. Speak my word aloud over your life, your family, your circumstances, and your future. Your voice carries spiritual authority when it is aligned with my will and empowered by my spirit. The enemy trembles when he hears my word spoken with faith and conviction by one of my children who understands their spiritual authority. The voice of doubt will suggest that speaking to invisible enemies is silly, that declaring truth over circumstances is ineffective, that spiritual warfare through words is primitive superstition. But I spoke the worlds into existence through words, and I have given you that same creative power when your words align with my will. Sixth instruction, beloved child. Fast regularly to sharpen your spiritual sensitivity and increase your spiritual power. Fasting is not about impressing me with your religiosity or earning my favor through sacrifice. It is about breaking the power of flesh over spirit, increasing your sensitivity to my voice, and accessing spiritual authority that comes only through prayer and fasting. Some battles cannot be won without fasting, precious one. Some strongholds cannot be broken without this level of spiritual discipline. Some levels of spiritual authority cannot be accessed without denying the flesh and focusing entirely on the spirit. Seventh instruction, beloved child, forgive quickly and completely when others hurt you. Unforgiveness is one of the enemy's most effective weapons against you because it gives him legal ground to operate in your life, creates spiritual bondage that restricts your freedom, and builds walls between your heart and mine. The enemy will use people to wound you, hoping that you will hold on to the offense and give him a foothold in your life. But forgiveness is not about the person who hurt you. It is about your freedom, your healing, and your spiritual protection. Forgive quickly, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve to be free. These instructions are not burdensome requirements, precious one. They are loving provisions for your protection and empowerment. Follow them faithfully, and you will find that spiritual warfare becomes not a source of fear, but a platform for victory, not a burden to bear, but a battle to win. I am with you in every battle, beside you in every conflict, strengthening you for every challenge. You are not fighting alone, you are not defenseless, and you are not destined for defeat. Victory is your inheritance, triumph is your destiny, and success is your guarantee. Take up your spiritual weapons, beloved child. Put on your armor, follow my instructions, and march forward in the confidence that greater is He who is in you than he who is in the world. My precious child, in this hour when deception is rampant and truth is under attack, I must strengthen your spiritual armor in ways that will make you impervious to the lies of the enemy, immune to the confusion of culture, and invincible against the strategies of Satan. The danger you face is not just external attacks, but internal compromise. Not just obvious lies, but subtle deceptions that appear as truth. Not just blatant evil, but disguised darkness that masquerades as light. The voice of relativism whispers that truth is subjective, that everyone's perspective is equally valid, that absolute truth is outdated and intolerant. But beloved one, this voice is not promoting tolerance. It is producing confusion. It is not encouraging acceptance. It is enabling deception. There is absolute truth, and that truth is found in me, revealed in my word, and confirmed by my spirit. Your spiritual armor must be strengthened against the deception of partial truth, precious child. The enemy has learned that complete lies are often too obvious to be believed, so he has become masterful at mixing truth with error, combining facts with fiction, and blending light with darkness. These hybrid deceptions are particularly dangerous because they contain enough truth to seem credible, while containing enough error to be destructive. The belt of truth that girds your armor must be tightened with absolute commitment to my word, as the final authority in every area of your life. This belt holds all other pieces of armor in place, and if it becomes loose, your entire spiritual defense system becomes compromised. When culture contradicts my word, choose my word. When feelings contradict my truth, choose my truth. When circumstances seem to deny my promises, choose my promises. I am strengthening the breastplate of righteousness around your heart, beloved child, not with your own righteousness, which is as filthy rags, but with the righteousness of Christ, which can never be questioned, never be removed, and never be insufficient. The enemy will attack your heart with accusations of unworthiness, reminders of past failures, and suggestions that you have disqualified yourself from divine blessing and protection. But your righteousness is not based on your performance. It is based on my provision. It is not dependent on your perfection. It is dependent on Christ's perfection. It is not earned by your works. It is received by your faith. This righteousness creates an impenetrable shield around your heart that no accusation can pierce, no condemnation can penetrate, and no shame can destroy. The preparation of the gospel of peace must be firmly established in your understanding, precious one. Your feet must be so grounded in the good news of my love, grace, and salvation that no message of condemnation can shake you, no doctrine of works can enslave you, and no teaching of performance can intimidate you. The gospel is not just the message that saves you, it is the foundation that establishes you. Many believers begin their journey with the gospel, but then drift into performance-based Christianity, law-based living, and works-based acceptance. This drift leaves them vulnerable to spiritual attack because they have moved away from the solid ground of grace and onto the shifting sand of human effort. Stand firm on the gospel, walk confidently in grace, and live securely in my unconditional love. I am fortifying the shield of faith in your life, beloved child, against the fiery darts of doubt, fear, unbelief, and discouragement that are being launched against you with increasing frequency and intensity. This shield is not passive protection. It is active defense that must be deliberately lifted and strategically positioned to intercept every attack before it reaches your heart. Faith is not a feeling. It is a choice. It is not based on circumstances. It is based on my character. It is not dependent on understanding. It is dependent on trust. Your shield of faith becomes stronger every time you choose to believe my word over contrary evidence, trust my heart over confusing circumstances, and rely on my power over human limitations. The helmet of salvation must be securely fastened to protect your mind from the psychological warfare that is intensifying in these last days, precious one. The enemy is launching unprecedented attacks against the thought lives of believers, using media, entertainment, education, and even religious systems to reshape thinking patterns, alter belief systems, and corrupt moral foundations. Your mind is a battlefield, and the helmet of salvation protects it by keeping you constantly aware of your identity in Christ, your security in my love, and your destiny in my kingdom. When thoughts of condemnation attack your mind, the helmet reminds you that there is no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. When fears assault your peace, the helmet declares that you have not been given a spirit of fear but of power, love, and sound mind. The sword of the Spirit, which is my word, must be sharp and ready in your hand, beloved child. This is your only offensive weapon, and it is powerful enough to cut through every deception, defeat every lie, and demolish every stronghold that sets itself up against the knowledge of me. But a sword that is not used becomes dull, and knowledge of my word that is not applied becomes ineffective. You must not only know my word, you must speak my word. You must not only read my promises, you must declare my promises. You must not only understand my truth, you must proclaim my truth. The sword of the Spirit is activated through your voice, empowered through your faith, and made effective through your obedience. The enemy has been developing new strategies of deception specifically designed to penetrate traditional spiritual armor. Precious one, he has created counterfeits of every spiritual truth, alternatives to every biblical principle, and substitutes for every kingdom value. These counterfeits are so sophisticated that they can deceive even mature believers if they are not spiritually discerning. I am giving you enhanced spiritual discernment to recognize these deceptions before they take root in your heart, beloved child. You will sense when something is not quite right, even when you cannot immediately identify what is wrong. You will feel uncomfortable with teachings that sound good but lack spiritual substance. You will recognize when someone is speaking truth in love versus speaking truth in pride, legalism, or manipulation. Your strengthened spiritual armor will also protect you against the deception of spiritual pride, precious one. As you grow in spiritual maturity, as you gain deeper understanding of my word, as you develop greater discernment of spiritual things, the enemy will tempt you to become proud of your spiritual achievements, judgmental of others' spiritual immaturity, and critical of those who have not yet reached your level of understanding. But true spiritual maturity is marked by humility, not pride. Real spiritual strength is demonstrated through service, not superiority. Authentic spiritual wisdom is expressed through love, not judgment. The more you grow spiritually, the more humble you should become, the more loving you should be, and the more gracious you should become toward others who are still learning and growing. Your armor is being strengthened, precious child, but it requires daily maintenance, regular inspection, and constant improvement. Do not become complacent about your spiritual protection. Do not assume that yesterday's armor is sufficient for today's battles. Do not rely on past spiritual victories to guarantee future spiritual success. Put on your strengthened armor daily, beloved one. Check each piece carefully, secure every component thoroughly, and wear it confidently. You are not just protected, you are prepared. You are not just defended, you are equipped. You are not just safe, you are victorious. The deceptions are multiplying, but your discernment is increasing. The attacks are intensifying, but your armor is strengthening. The enemy is desperate, but your victory is certain. Stand firm in your strengthened armor, precious child. The battle is real, but so is your protection. The war is raging, but you are winning. My beloved child, one of the most sophisticated and dangerous weapons in the enemy's arsenal is not a frontal attack, but a sideways distraction. He has learned that he cannot defeat you through obvious evil, blatant temptation, or direct opposition. So he has developed a strategy of spiritual distraction designed to pull your attention away from what matters most, divert your energy from kingdom priorities, and dissipate your focus from eternal purposes. The voice of productivity convinces you that every distraction is actually an opportunity, that every interruption is a divine appointment, that every demand on your time is a call to service. But precious one, not every opportunity is from me. Not every open door leads to my will, and not every request for your involvement is a kingdom assignment. Learning to discern between divine appointments and demonic distractions is crucial for your spiritual survival and kingdom effectiveness. These distractions are not obviously evil things that would immediately alarm your spiritual senses, beloved child. They are often good things, beneficial activities, noble causes, and worthwhile pursuits. The enemy's most effective distractions are those that appear valuable, feel important, and seem urgent. He has learned to use your own desire to please me, serve others, and make a difference as weapons against your true calling and divine assignment. I see how the enemy has been using the distraction of busyness to steal your time with me, precious one. Your schedule has become so packed with activities, responsibilities, and commitments that you have little time left for prayer, worship, meditation on my word, or simply sitting in my presence. You have mistaken motion for progress, activity for productivity, and exhaustion for faithfulness. But busyness is not a badge of honor in my kingdom. It is often a sign of misplaced priorities. Being busy is not the same as being fruitful, and being active is not the same as being effective. Some of the most significant kingdom work happens in quietness, in stillness, in moments of intimate communion with me that appear unproductive to the natural eye, but are powerfully transformative in the spiritual realm. The enemy has also been using the distraction of other people's emergencies to derail your divine assignments, beloved child. Every time you begin to focus on your calling, every time you start to pursue your purpose, every time you attempt to prioritize your relationship with me, someone presents you with an urgent crisis that demands your immediate attention and intervention. These crises are often real, and the people presenting them genuinely need help. But I am teaching you that not every need is your assignment. Not every crisis is your responsibility, and not every person's emergency is your priority. You must learn to distinguish between divine assignments and human manipulations, between kingdom responsibilities and people-pleasing obligations. The distraction of information overload has become a particularly effective weapon against your spiritual focus, precious one. The enemy has flooded your world with an endless stream of news, updates, opinions, analyses, and commentary that keeps your mind constantly processing external information instead of receiving divine revelation. Your consciousness has become so saturated with earthly input that there is little room left for heavenly insight. This constant flow of information creates an addiction to knowing, an anxiety about being uninformed, and a compulsion to stay current with every development in your world. But I am calling you to fast from information occasionally, to create space for revelation, to value divine wisdom above human knowledge, and to prioritize eternal truth over temporal updates. The enemy has also been using the distraction of comparison to steal your contentment and derail your confidence in my unique plan for your life, beloved child. Social media, entertainment, and even religious environments constantly present you with images of others' successes, highlights of their achievements, and celebrations of their breakthroughs. This creates a perpetual sense that you are behind, lacking, or missing out on what others are experiencing. But comparison is not just the thief of joy, it is the enemy of purpose. When you focus on what others are doing, you lose sight of what I am doing in your life. When you measure your progress against others' achievements, you minimize the significance of your own journey. When you covet others' blessings, you become blind to your own blessings. The distraction of perfectionism has paralyzed more believers than failure ever has, precious one. The enemy convinces you that everything you do for me must be flawless, that every step you take must be perfect, that every decision you make must be absolutely certain. This perfectionism appears to be a pursuit of excellence, but it is actually a strategy of paralysis that prevents you from moving forward in faith. I have never required perfection before blessing, flawlessness before favor, or certainty before calling. I work through imperfect people, use flawed vessels, and accomplish perfect purposes through imperfect processes. Your effectiveness is not dependent on your perfection. It is dependent on your availability, your obedience, and your willingness to let me work through your weaknesses. The enemy has been using the distraction of offense to steal your peace and corrupt your relationships, beloved child. He carefully orchestrates situations where you feel misunderstood, unappreciated, or mistreated. He then whispers that you have a right to be angry, a justification for bitterness, and a reason to withdraw from fellowship with others. But offense is a trap that imprisons the offended more than the offender. When you hold on to hurt feelings, nurse wounded pride, or rehearse others' failures, you give the enemy access to your heart, permission to poison your relationships, and authority to steal your joy. Forgiveness is not just a gift you give to others. It is a protection you provide for yourself. The distraction of religious activity has deceived many believers into thinking that being busy for God is the same as being intimate with God. Precious one. The enemy fills your schedule with church activities, religious obligations, and spiritual duties that appear noble, but actually distance you from personal relationship with me. You can be so busy serving me that you have no time to know me, so occupied with ministry that you neglect intimacy. True spirituality is not measured by the number of activities you participate in or the amount of service you provide. It is measured by the depth of your relationship with me, the intimacy of your communion with my heart, and the transformation of your character into my likeness. Recognizing these distractions is the first step to resisting them, beloved child. Once you see how the enemy is using good things to steal the best things, you can begin to make choices that protect your priorities, preserve your focus, and maintain your connection to what matters most. Resistance requires saying no to good things so you can say yes to God things. It demands choosing the important over the urgent, the eternal over the temporal, the kingdom over the immediate. It means disappointing some people to avoid disappointing your Father, declining some opportunities to embrace your true calling, and releasing some activities to receive your divine assignment. I am giving you wisdom to recognize these distractions, courage to resist them, and strength to refocus on what truly matters, precious one. Your time is precious, your energy is limited, and your attention is valuable. Do not allow the enemy to steal these resources through spiritual distractions disguised as kingdom opportunities. Focus on me, beloved child. Focus on my voice, my will, my priorities, and my purposes. Let everything else be secondary to your relationship with me and your obedience to my calling on your life. The distractions will always be there, but you have the authority to resist them and the wisdom to recognize them. Stay focused, stay faithful, and stay free from the distractions that would derail your destiny. My precious child, the time has come for me to release a new level of supernatural empowerment into your life that will equip you not just to survive spiritual warfare, but to dominate it, not just to defend against attacks, but to advance my kingdom through your victory, not just to resist the enemy, but to rout him completely from every area of influence in your life. This empowerment is not earned through human effort, but received through divine grace, not achieved through personal discipline, but granted through supernatural favor. The voice of self-effort whispers that you must work harder to become more spiritual, try harder to resist temptation, and strive harder to achieve victory in spiritual battles. But beloved one, supernatural empowerment is not about your strength. It is about my strength working through your weakness. It is not about your ability. It is about my ability operating through your availability. It is not about your power. It is about my power perfected in your surrender. I am empowering your prayers with supernatural authority that will cause heaven to move and hell to tremble, precious child. Your prayers are no longer just requests to a distant deity. They are declarations of a beloved child who knows their Father's heart and understands their spiritual authority. When you pray in alignment with my will, your words carry creative power that can change circumstances, transform situations, and alter the course of events. The enemy trembles when he hears my words spoken with faith and conviction through the lips of one of my children who understands their authority in Christ. Your prayers are not suggestions, they are commands. Your intercession is not begging, it is decreeing. Your petitions are not hoping, they are declaring what is already established in heaven to be manifested on earth. I am empowering your worship with supernatural effectiveness that breaks strongholds, dispels darkness, and releases my presence into every environment you enter, beloved child. Your worship is not just singing songs. It is warfare that creates an atmosphere where demons cannot operate, where fear cannot survive, and where my glory is free to manifest. When you worship me in spirit and truth, you are not just expressing your love, you are exercising your authority. The enemy flees from the presence of genuine worship because he cannot tolerate the glory of my presence that is released through your praise. Your worship creates a spiritual environment that is toxic to darkness, hostile to evil, and dangerous to demonic activity. Do not underestimate the warfare power of your worship, precious one. It is one of your most potent weapons against the forces of darkness. I am empowering your words with creative authority that can speak life into dead situations, hope into desperate circumstances, and breakthrough into impossible barriers. Beloved child, your mouth is not just for communication. It is a weapon of warfare, a tool of creation, and an instrument of transformation. When your words align with my will and are spoken in faith, they carry the same power that spoke the universe into existence. The enemy fears the sound of my word coming from your lips because he knows that my word never returns void, never fails to accomplish its purpose, and never lacks the power to perform what it promises. Speak my word over your life, your family, your circumstances, and your future. Declare my promises with confidence, proclaim my truth with authority, and watch as the power of your words transforms your reality. I am empowering your mind with supernatural discernment that can detect deception before it takes root, recognize truth even when it is disguised, and understand spiritual realities that are hidden from natural perception. Precious one, your thoughts are no longer at the mercy of external circumstances or internal confusion. You have been given the mind of Christ, and you can think my thoughts, understand my ways, and perceive my purposes. This empowered discernment will enable you to see through the enemy's disguises, recognize his tactics, and anticipate his strategies. You will know when someone is speaking truth in love versus speaking truth in pride or manipulation. You will sense when an opportunity is from me versus when it is a distraction from the enemy. You will discern when to trust and when to be cautious, when to engage and when to withdraw, when to fight and when to rest. I am empowering your relationships with supernatural wisdom that can navigate complex dynamics, resolve difficult conflicts, and build bridges where there were once walls. Beloved child, your relationships are not just social connections. They are strategic alliances in the kingdom of God. I am giving you the ability to love wisely, forgive completely, and connect deeply with those I have placed in your life for kingdom purposes. This empowered wisdom will help you know how to respond to people who hurt you, how to relate to those who misunderstand you, and how to love those who oppose you. You will be able to maintain your spiritual authority while demonstrating Christ-like character, stand firm in truth while expressing unconditional love, and protect your heart while keeping it open to genuine connection. I am empowering your emotions with supernatural stability that cannot be shaken by circumstances, manipulated by others, or overwhelmed by challenges. Precious one, your emotions are no longer your master. They are your servants. You have been given authority over your emotional responses, power over your reactions, and control over your inner atmosphere. This emotional empowerment does not make you cold or insensitive. It makes you free to respond from love rather than react from fear, to choose peace rather than be controlled by chaos, to demonstrate joy rather than be defeated by depression. Your emotions become powerful tools for kingdom advancement rather than weapons that the enemy can use against you. I am empowering your calling with supernatural effectiveness that will multiply your impact, accelerate your influence, and amplify your voice in ways that exceed your natural abilities. Beloved child, your calling is not just a job to perform. It is a kingdom assignment that carries heavenly backing, divine resources, and supernatural authority. This empowerment will cause doors to open that should remain closed, favor to flow where there should be resistance, and opportunities to emerge where there should be obstacles. People will respond to the anointing on your life. Circumstances will align with your kingdom purposes, and resources will be released to support your divine assignments. The enemy has been fighting against your empowerment because he knows that when you walk in the fullness of supernatural authority, his attacks become ineffective, his strategies become powerless, and his influence becomes irrelevant. An empowered believer is the enemy's worst nightmare and the kingdom's greatest asset. But this empowerment comes with responsibility, precious child. With great power comes great accountability. You must use this supernatural authority to build up, not tear down, to heal, not harm, to bless, not curse, to advance my kingdom, not promote your own agenda. Stay humble in your empowerment, beloved one. Remember that your authority comes from me, your strength flows from my spirit, and your effectiveness depends on your connection to me. Apart from me, you can do nothing, but connected to me, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Receive this supernatural empowerment, precious child. Embrace your spiritual authority. Walk in your divine power. Use your kingdom weapons. You are not just surviving spiritual warfare, you are winning it. You are not just resisting the enemy, you are routing him. You are not just defending the kingdom, you are advancing it. The empowerment is yours, the authority is established, and the victory is guaranteed. Rise up in your supernatural power and demonstrate the reality of my kingdom to a world that desperately needs to see the supernatural power of God at work through ordinary people who have been extraordinarily empowered. My beloved child, there comes a moment in every believer's spiritual journey when they must transition from seeking authority to walking in authority, from asking for power to operating in power, from hoping for victory to living in victory. That moment has arrived for you, precious one. The time of preparation is complete, the season of training is finished, and the hour of demonstration has come. The voice of timidity whispers that you are not qualified for such authority, that spiritual power is reserved for pastors and prophets, that ordinary believers should remain humble and hidden. But beloved child, I have not given you a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind. The authority I am calling you to walk in is not religious position, but spiritual birthright, not earned privilege, but inherited blessing. You have been given authority over all the power of the enemy, precious one. This is not a metaphor or a pleasant platitude. This is literal spiritual reality. The same authority that Jesus exercised when he cast out demons, healed the sick, and raised the dead has been delegated to you as his follower. The same power that operated through the apostles when they turned the world upside down for the gospel is available to you today. But authority that is not exercised is authority that remains dormant, and power that is not used is power that becomes ineffective. I am calling you to step into the fullness of your spiritual authority and demonstrate the reality of my kingdom through your life, your words, your prayers, and your actions. The enemy has been working overtime to keep you from recognizing your authority because he knows that an awakened believer who understands their spiritual power is his greatest threat. He has used religion to convince you that authority is dangerous, that power corrupts, that you should remain passive and powerless. But these are lies designed to keep you spiritually neutered and kingdom ineffective. True spiritual authority is not harsh or domineering. It is gentle but firm, loving but decisive, humble but confident. It is authority that serves rather than dominates, that builds up rather than tears down, that heals rather than harms. This authority flows from relationship with me, not from position over others. It is validated by character, not by title or recognition. I am calling you to exercise authority over your thought life, beloved child. You have the power to take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ, to cast down imaginations that exalt themselves against the knowledge of me, and to choose what you will allow to occupy your mental space. Your mind is not at the mercy of external circumstances or internal chaos. You have authority over your thought patterns and the power to renew your mind. When thoughts of fear, doubt, condemnation, or discouragement attempt to enter your consciousness, you have the authority to reject them, the power to replace them, and the right to choose what you will meditate upon. This is not positive thinking. This is spiritual authority in action. I am calling you to exercise authority over your emotional responses, precious one. Your emotions are powerful forces that can either serve your spiritual growth or sabotage your kingdom effectiveness. You have been given authority to manage your emotional reactions, to choose your responses rather than being controlled by your feelings, and to maintain your spiritual equilibrium regardless of external pressures. This does not mean suppressing your emotions or pretending they don't exist. It means acknowledging your feelings while refusing to be controlled by them, experiencing your emotions while choosing your responses, and honoring your heart while directing your actions according to spiritual truth rather than emotional impulses. I am calling you to exercise authority in your relationships, beloved child. You have the power to break cycles of dysfunction, to establish healthy boundaries, to speak truth in love, and to create atmospheres of peace and blessing wherever you go. Your relationships are not accidents. They are assignments, opportunities to demonstrate kingdom principles and advance my purposes through connection with others. This authority in relationships does not mean controlling or manipulating others. It means taking responsibility for your part in every relationship, responding to others from love rather than reacting from hurt, and creating space for others to encounter me through their interaction with you. I am calling you to exercise authority over your circumstances, precious one. You are not a victim of your situation. You are a victor over your situation. You have been given power to speak to your mountains and watch them move, to declare my word over your circumstances and see them change, to stand in faith despite contrary evidence and witness supernatural transformation. This authority over circumstances does not guarantee that you will never face challenges or difficulties. It means that you will not be overwhelmed by them, defeated by them, or defined by them. You will be able to find me in the storm, hear my voice in the chaos, and experience my peace in the pressure. I am calling you to exercise authority in spiritual warfare, beloved child. You have been equipped with weapons that are mighty through God for the pulling down of strongholds. You have been given authority to bind what hell has loosed and loose what heaven has bound. You have been empowered to resist the enemy and watch him flee from you. This spiritual authority is not something you achieve through religious performance or earn through good behavior. It is something you receive through relationship with me and activate through faith in my word. The authority is already yours. The question is whether you will use it. The enemy will test your authority, will challenge your right to operate in spiritual power, will question your qualifications for kingdom effectiveness. When this happens, do not argue with him or try to prove your worthiness. Simply stand in the authority that Christ has given you and exercise the power that the Holy Spirit has made available to you. Your authority is not dependent on how you feel on any given day. It is not determined by your recent performance or your current circumstances. It is not diminished by your struggles or magnified by your successes. Your authority is rooted in your identity as a child of God, established by the blood of Jesus and empowered by the Holy Spirit. Walk in this authority with confidence, but not arrogance, with power, but not pride, with strength, but not harshness. Use your authority to serve others, to advance my kingdom, and to demonstrate my love to a world that desperately needs to see the reality of supernatural power operating through surrendered lives. Remember that authority without relationship becomes tyranny, and power without love becomes destructive. Stay connected to me, beloved child. Let your authority flow from intimacy. Let your power be directed by love, and let your strength be tempered by humility. The world is watching to see if there is substance behind our claims, reality behind our declarations, and power behind our prayers. You have the opportunity to show them that our God is real, our faith is genuine, and our authority is authentic. Step into your authority, precious one. Stop asking for what you already possess. Stop seeking what you already carry. Stop hoping for what you already have. You are authorized, you are empowered, you are equipped. The enemy has been defeated, his power has been broken, and his authority has been stripped away. You stand in victory, you walk in triumph, and you live in the reality of his defeat. Now demonstrate that victory to a world that needs to see the power of God at work through his people. Your authority is unshakable because it is rooted in unshakable truth. Your power is undefeatable because it flows from an undefeatable source. Your victory is unquestionable because it is based on an unquestionable foundation. Rise up in your authority, beloved child. The kingdom needs warriors who know who they are, understand what they carry, and are willing to demonstrate the reality of spiritual power in practical ways. You are one of those warriors. Your time has come, your authority is established, and your victory is assured. My precious child, through this journey of awakening to spiritual danger and learning to walk in divine protection, something magnificent has been happening within you that your natural eyes could not see, and your human mind could not fully comprehend. While you have been learning to recognize threats and resist attacks, I have been transforming you into someone the enemy can no longer deceive, manipulate, or defeat. This transformation is not just about surviving spiritual warfare. It is about thriving in spiritual authority and walking in such complete freedom that darkness has no power over your life. The voice of familiarity will try to convince you that you are still the same person with the same vulnerabilities, the same weaknesses, and the same susceptibility to the enemy's schemes. But beloved one, you are not who you were when this journey began. The transformation that has occurred in your spirit, your mind, your discernment, and your authority is profound, permanent, and protective. Your spiritual perception has been completely revolutionized, precious child. Where once you lived in spiritual blindness, unable to see the invisible realm or recognize supernatural activity, you now possess spiritual sight that can detect the enemy's presence, discern his strategies, and anticipate his attacks before they fully manifest. This enhanced perception is not just helpful, it is protective, creating an early warning system that prevents surprise attacks and enables proactive spiritual warfare. The transformation in your thought patterns has been extraordinary, beloved one. The automatic negative thinking that once dominated your mental processes has been replaced by faith-filled thinking that aligns with my word and my will. The fearful thoughts that once paralyzed your progress have been overcome by courageous thoughts that propel you forward. The doubt-filled assumptions that once limited your expectations have been transformed into faith-filled declarations that release my power into your circumstances. Your emotional stability has been completely restructured during this process, precious child. Where once your emotions were like a ship without an anchor, tossed about by every wind of circumstance and storm of challenge, you now possess supernatural emotional stability that cannot be shaken by external pressures or internal conflicts. This is not emotional numbness or suppression. This is divine regulation that keeps your heart peaceful and your responses wise. The transformation in your relationships has been beautiful to witness, beloved one. You have learned to love without losing yourself, to give without being depleted, to serve without being enslaved, and to connect without being controlled. The people-pleasing patterns that once dominated your interactions have been replaced by God-pleasing priorities that honor me while blessing others authentically. Your understanding of spiritual warfare has been completely revolutionized, precious child. Where once you were largely unaware of the spiritual battles raging around you, you now recognize warfare as a normal part of kingdom living and approach it with confidence rather than fear, with strategy rather than panic, with authority rather than anxiety. You have learned that spiritual warfare is not something to be afraid of, but something to be engaged in with divine weapons and supernatural power. The voice of insecurity will try to make you doubt this transformation, to convince you that you are not really changed, that you will revert to old patterns under pressure. But I am declaring over you that the work I have begun in you, I will complete. The transformation that has occurred is not temporary, it is permanent. It is not superficial, it is fundamental. It is not fragile, it is fortified by my power. Your prayer life has been transformed from desperate pleading to authoritative declaring. Beloved one, you now understand that prayer is not just asking me for things. It is partnering with me to establish my will on earth as it is in heaven. Your prayers carry weight because they carry authority. Your intercession moves mountains because it moves heaven. Your declarations change circumstances because they release divine power into natural situations. The transformation in your worship has been profound, precious child. You have discovered that worship is not just singing songs or participating in religious activities. It is warfare that creates atmospheres where my presence can manifest and my power can operate. Your worship now breaks strongholds, dispels darkness, and releases breakthrough in ways that astound even you. Your relationship with my word has been completely transformed, beloved one. Where once scripture was just information to be learned, it has become revelation to be lived. Where once my promises were just nice thoughts to consider, they have become powerful weapons to wield. Where once biblical truth was just doctrine to discuss, it has become divine reality to demonstrate. The transformation in your identity has been the most significant of all. Precious child, you no longer see yourself as a victim of circumstances, but as a victor over circumstances. You no longer view yourself as powerless against spiritual attack, but as powerful in spiritual authority. You no longer consider yourself ordinary, but recognize yourself as extraordinary. Not because of who you are in yourself, but because of who you are in me. This transformed identity is unshakable because it is not based on your performance, but on my promises. Not on your strength, but on my strength. Not on your achievements, but on my acceptance. The enemy can no longer use accusations to destabilize you, condemnation to discourage you, or shame to silence you because your identity is firmly established in my love. Your capacity for blessing has been dramatically expanded through this transformation, beloved one. You can now handle more favor, more responsibility, more influence, and more prosperity than you could manage before this process began. Like a container that has been enlarged to hold more oil, your spiritual capacity has been increased to receive and steward greater dimensions of my blessing. The transformation in your spiritual authority has equipped you not just to protect yourself, but to protect others, precious child. You have become a spiritual covering for your family, a source of strength for your friends, and a beacon of light for those who are still walking in darkness. Your transformation creates a ripple effect that touches everyone in your sphere of influence. Most importantly, beloved one, this transformation has created a spiritual momentum in your life that makes you dangerous to the kingdom of darkness and valuable to the kingdom of light. The enemy now thinks twice before attacking you because he knows you will recognize his schemes, resist his influence, and defeat his strategies. You have become a force for good that hell cannot stop, and heaven celebrates. This transformation is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of a new chapter, precious child. You are now equipped for greater battles, prepared for higher levels of spiritual warfare, and ready for increased dimensions of kingdom authority. The person you have become through this process is someone the enemy fears and someone the kingdom needs. The danger you once faced because of spiritual blindness has been replaced by divine protection through spiritual sight. The vulnerability you once experienced because of ignorance has been overcome by invincibility through knowledge. The powerlessness you once felt because of deception has been transformed into authority through truth. You are transformed, you are protected, and you are powerful, beloved child. The process is complete, the change is permanent, and the future is secure. Walk in the fullness of who you have become, operate in the authority you have received, and live in the freedom you have gained. The transformation is your protection, the change is your covering, and the new you is the enemy's worst nightmare and the kingdom's greatest asset. My beloved child, as we reach the culmination of this divine revelation about the unseen dangers around you and the supernatural protection available to you, I want to speak to you about something that transcends time itself, your eternal victory that has been sealed by my blood, guaranteed by my promises, and celebrated in the courts of heaven. What you have learned through this journey about spiritual warfare is not just temporary knowledge for earthly battles. It is eternal wisdom for everlasting triumph. The voice of doubt will try one final time to make you question whether this victory is real, whether this protection is permanent, whether this authority will continue to be effective. But I am speaking with the voice of the one who conquered hell and death, who holds the keys of the grave, who has already won the ultimate victory. Your triumph is not just probable, it is promised. It is not just possible, it is permanent. It is not just hoped for, it is guaranteed. You entered this journey in spiritual danger, unaware of the invisible battles raging around your life, unconscious of the enemy's schemes against your destiny. and unprepared for the warfare required to walk in victory. But you are not ending this journey the same person who began it. You have been awakened, equipped, empowered, and transformed into a spiritual warrior who not only recognizes danger but overcomes it, who not only sees attacks but defeats them, who not only faces battles but wins them. The transformation you have experienced is not just for this life, it is preparation for eternity, beloved child. The spiritual authority you have learned to walk in will continue throughout the ages to come. The discernment you have developed will serve you forever. The relationship with me that has been deepened through this process will be your eternal joy and satisfaction. In eternity, you will look back on this season of awakening and understand its eternal significance. You will see how every spiritual battle you fought prepared you for greater authority in my kingdom. You will recognize how every victory you won on earth equipped you for responsibilities in heaven. You will comprehend how every enemy scheme you defeated contributed to your eternal reward and recognition. But your victory is not just about your personal triumph, precious one. It is about the testimony you carry, the example you provide, and the encouragement you offer to others who are still learning to recognize and resist spiritual danger. Your life has become a living demonstration that ordinary believers can walk in extraordinary victory, that normal people can operate in supernatural authority, that anyone who is willing to wake up to spiritual reality can walk in spiritual triumph. The enemy's attempts to deceive you have failed. His strategies to defeat you have been turned to your advantage. His plans to destroy you have resulted in your development. Every attack he launched against you has made you stronger. Every scheme he deployed against you has made you wiser. Every battle he initiated against you has made you more victorious. Your victory extends beyond your personal life to your family line, beloved child. The spiritual authority you now walk in breaks generational patterns of defeat, establishes generational patterns of victory, and creates a legacy of triumph that will impact your descendants for generations to come. Your children and your children's children will benefit from the spiritual ground you have gained, the strongholds you have broken, and the authority you have established. The church needs more believers like you have become, precious one, believers who are awake to spiritual reality, equipped for spiritual warfare and walking in spiritual authority. Your victory is not just personal blessing, it is kingdom advancement. Your triumph is not just individual success, it is corporate strengthening for the body of Christ. I am sealing your victory with promises that cannot be broken, covenants that cannot be canceled, and declarations that cannot be defeated. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. No tongue that rises against you in judgment shall be condemned. No plan of the enemy against your life shall succeed. This is not wishful thinking. This is divine decree. Your victory is sealed in the courts of heaven, recorded in the books of eternity, and celebrated by the angels assigned to your life. The battles you have won, the authority you have gained, and the transformation you have experienced have created a heavenly record of triumph that will be your crown of glory throughout eternity. The voice of the enemy that once spoke confusion into your life has been silenced by the voice of truth. The lies he once whispered in your ear have been drowned out by the declarations of divine love. The fears he once planted in your heart have been uprooted by the peace that passes understanding. The limitations he once imposed on your thinking have been shattered by the knowledge of who you are in me. You are more than a conqueror through Christ who loves you, beloved child. This is not just a nice verse to quote. It is your eternal identity, your permanent position, your guaranteed status. The victory you walk in is not dependent on your strength but on Christ's strength, not on your ability, but on His ability, not on your power, but on His power working through you. Your eternal victory includes victory over every fear that once controlled you, every lie that once deceived you, every limitation that once restricted you, and every attack that once threatened you. The spiritual sight you have gained will never be lost. The authority you have learned to exercise will never be revoked. The protection you have received will never be removed. In the ages to come, when the battles of earth are just memories and the struggles of time are ancient history, you will reign with me in victory, rule with me in authority, and celebrate with me in triumph. The spiritual warfare you learned to engage in on earth was preparation for the eternal authority you will exercise in heaven. But until that eternal day arrives, beloved child, you will continue to walk in victory here on earth, demonstrating the reality of supernatural triumph to a world that desperately needs to see the power of God at work through surrendered lives. Your victory is not just for you. It is through you to others who need to see that victory is possible, that triumph is available, and that defeat is not inevitable. The danger that once threatened you has been overcome. The enemy that once opposed you has been defeated. The attacks that once overwhelmed you have been turned into opportunities for greater victory. You are not just surviving spiritual warfare, you are thriving in spiritual authority. Your victory is complete, your triumph is total, and your success is sealed. The journey that began with awakening to danger has ended with walking in victory. The process that started with recognition of attacks has concluded with the reality of authority. The transformation that commenced with spiritual sight has culminated with supernatural might. You are victorious, beloved child. You are triumphant. You are more than a conqueror. Your victory is not future hope. It is present reality. Your triumph is not distant possibility. It is current truth. Your conquest is not eventual maybe. It is eternal certainty. Walk in your victory, live in your triumph, and celebrate your conquest. The battle is won, the war is over, and you are forever victorious in Christ Jesus. This is my promise to you, my declaration over you, and my guarantee for you now and throughout all eternity.